Hi everyone, welcome back to the Comic Cave for I Heard a Rumour. This is a show where I try and talk about everything that happened in the geek multiverse this week. There are some massive things happening at the moment. I heard that Bob Iger was possibly considering selling off parts of Disney, well, maybe just the streaming or TV service, but there's possibly a deal for everything to Apple. It looks like we're starting to see a changing landscape both within media and gaming. We have to talk about that a little later. Stick around till after the intro, because I know I have to talk about some breaking stories this week from San Diego Comic-Con and try and do a random comic character feature, all in under 10 minutes. Oh yeah, please remember to like and subscribe to the show. Let me know what you think of it, and if there's any other content you'd like to see, so I can possibly add new segments into the show down the line. Okay, hang around, I'll see you just now. Hi everyone, so I'm going to try and keep the news relatively short this week, so we've got some time for that obscure comic character review. Hopefully, it's someone so random that you might not have even heard of them yet, and I get to teach you something new. Let's get into it. So, the new Marvels trailer came out on midnight on Thursday, and it looks like an interesting concept. I mean, have you seen it yet? It's 2 minutes and 21 seconds of butt-kicking girl power. I mean, the series we know is coming out on November 10th this year, and I think it's going to appeal to a new target demographic, which is great. Drop a comment and tell me if you're excited to see it. If you've been following and reading comics, Miss Marvel, that's Kamala Khan, was actually recently killed off in Spider-Man while protecting Mary Jane. She was stabbed by Rabbit. Then they did a story arc called Fallen Friend, The Death of Miss Marvel, but Iman Vellani, who plays Miss Marvel, is going to be co-writing the new comic, Miss Marvel, The New Mutant. Speaking of, Miss Marvel Season 1 will also be the first MCU show to be broadcast on ABC Network in America. I mean, this is big for the future of superhero content. I mean, and bringing it to the mainstream. Hopefully, the interest is there and the take-up is positive. It could impact new content being made and shape the market in years to come. I spoke about Disney possibly being sold to Apple in the intro. This is mainly because they projected an $800 million loss. And this is fascinating for me because Bob Iger really helped build it to where it is now, especially since they bought over 20th Century Fox, Pixar, Marvel, and LucasArts. Bob Iger was then replaced by Bob Chapek for 2 years. I mean, he flopped it. And then Iger came back again. He has angered the striking actors and writers by his callous comments, saying that they were being unrealistic, while he earns $27 million a year. That's about 400 times what his lowest paid employee is paid. Rumors are that he might be looking at a deal to sell parts of Disney TV services to Apple, because not only does Disney own ABC and ESPN, but FX and National Geographic too. While we could see a possible merger between these two companies, the video game landscape that's also changing. A friend of mine, Tian, he sent me this article and his interesting analysis of the situation, because he calls this the potential downfall of Sony, because Microsoft looks to be taking over Activision and buying up all the good gaming licensing. And while there's still a bit of a legal battle in the UK, Xbox looks to be winning the console wars in the US and worldwide. I'll let you know as the story develops. I don't want to give away any spoilers for this week's Secret Invasion, but if you saw episode 4, you might have seen this character. Now, her name is Rava, and her first appearance is in Black Bolt issue 1 from 2017. Now, onto streaming news and series. I am eagerly awaiting these season 2s because Owen Wilson let slip that season 2 of Loki will delve into the backstory of Mobius. I mean, these posters were revealed, and I Am Groot season 2, that's apparently coming in October. And the poster for Invincible season 2 also came out. Did you know there's an interactive video game coming out from Ubisoft? Do yourself a favor. If you haven't watched season 1, it is one of the best animated comic book adaptations I have ever seen. It gets a solid 9.5 out of 10 for me. Now, onto that obscure comic character, well, the feature. Do you know of Bloodwraith? So, with the upcoming inclusion of Black Knight in the MCU, Dane Whitman, or as you might know him, Jon Snow, yes, Kit Harington, I thought this might be an interesting one to focus on. So let's talk about Bloodwraith. Later he's known as Black Wraith, but his real name is Sean Dolan. He was an Irish orphan. Starting off, he was a friend to Victoria Bentley and squire, I suppose, and friend to Dane Whitman. He helped in the fight against Morgan Le Fay until he got his hands on the Ebony Blade. So that's the sword we saw in the post-credits scene of the Eternals movie, the one that spoke to Black Knight. Well, it transforms Sean Dolan into Bloodwraith. So the sword gives him power, but also creates a bloodlust, and it hungers for souls to consume. So after beating Black Knight in a duel, he stole his winged horse, Valinor, and he kind of disappeared, went off the scene. So yes, he does have a big battle against the Merc with a Mouth, Deadpool, and he thought he was going to go stab Deadpool in a fight, but ended up stabbing and killing Victoria, and then accidentally trapping her innocent soul into the blade. So he's also fought against Namor and Triton, the Atlanteans. That's where he loses the Ebony Blade, but then he manages to get an alternative Ebony Blade that used to belong to Proctor. Now, I could go into a lot more detail, but with the help of the Avengers, he's returned to a more human state and kind of like a good guy once again. That's when he starts doing volunteer work in a war-torn country, and the blade takes on all the souls of the slain populace and turns them into this savage, unstoppable giant. So then the Avengers can't beat him. So Scarlet Witch binds him to the souls of the people and leaves him in that deserted land, and they just kind of leave. So if you found like Bloodwraith interesting, you can read up more about him, and who knows, maybe we'll see him in the MCU soon. So now at least you know his basic comic backstory. I know, okay, I'm running out of time, but San Diego Comic-Con is currently happening and the exclusives are pretty awesome. Personally, I'm after the exclusive Hasbro, Deadpool, and Hydra Bob set. I doubt I could afford this one, but it's the Thundercats lair, and it's next level amazing. Some of the news coming up from the con, we saw Jason Momoa's new costume for Aquaman 2. Ryan Reynolds is set to co-produce a Biker Mice from Mars reboot, and there's also a new Tiny Toon Adventures reboot, but they've changed the theme song. I love that. In terms of comics, DC revealed that there'll be a Justice League, Kong, and Godzilla crossover, and I know I'm not going to buy or read that. We saw a new Punisher from Marvel Comics, and a teaser for a new X-Men storyline was released, making people look at the way they did the X and thinking either it has something to do with Astonishing X-Men, that symbol from the 90s, or maybe even a full reboot, because it's similar to the symbol on the first X-Men comic, if you look at the X. Personally, I'd be in favor of wiping that slate clean and starting fresh, where people can start new from. The storylines have just become so convoluted and confusing, I wouldn't know where to start. Well, that's it for me. Thanks for joining me. Till next week. Catch you on the side of the flipping. Okay, bye.